Hi everyone! Today I will be covering another missing child case. I do want to state a disclaimer that we will be talking about child abuse in details, so this may be triggering to some. But I do feel that this case is very important and does need more coverage, and it should be talked about. Today's case is about 6-year-old Noel Rodriguez Alvarez, who went missing in North Texas in a small town called Tarrant County town of Everman. Noel was a lovely child who loved to play. He absolutely loved playing with toy trucks and jumping around. The photos that were released to the public clearly shows how adorable he was and how much he loved to smile. But he was also a child with special needs who did need that extra support, to which he was receiving and making progress. Noel was a premature baby of 23 weeks, and as he grew up, it became noticeable that he needed extra support with his development stages and more support for his physical developments. Some of Noel's diagnoses that have been made public include speech delay, esotropia in both eyes, and chronic lung disease. Noel did require oxygen treatments, which required several visits to the doctors. Noel resided with his mother Cindy Rodriguez Singh and stepfather Arshdeep Singh and his 6 siblings, who are all under 12 years old. Noel's biological dad, Mariano Alvarez Contreras, resides in Mexico and has not seen Noel since he was deported prior to Noel being born. Unfortunately, it seems like Noel didn't have the best upbringing. For a young child to not have his dad around, it seems as if his mother Cindy also was not always capable of providing quality care for Noel. Cindy struggled with alcohol and had several run-ins with law enforcement due to alcohol and was placed on probation for several years. Due to Cindy's struggle with alcohol, Noel and his siblings were placed in foster care. Noel was placed in the care of Patricia Paris from 2020 to 2021. For a year, Noel and his siblings lived with foster mother Patricia, who grew immense love for Noel and had a special bond with him. This was reciprocated back to Patricia, as Noel even started to call her mom. Patricia describes Noel as a child who loved to play and was filled with joy despite the challenges he faced. She shares, quote, "He was full of joy. He loved to laugh. He interacted real good with the other kids," quote. By the end of 2021, it seemed as Cindy was making progress in her life and was deemed capable of caring for Noel and his siblings again, as they were placed back in her care. This transition was heartbreaking for Patricia, as she grew to have a bond with Noel and asked to maintain contact with Noel, which she was able to do so. Patricia and Noel stayed in contact via FaceTime, and during these calls, Noel would show Patricia his favorite toys and what he was currently doing at the time of those FaceTime calls. Unfortunately, these FaceTime meetings would come to an abrupt halt in February 2022. For unknown reasons, Patricia's outgoing phone calls to Noel would go unanswered. It wouldn't be until a news report station aired the case of Noel missing. A family member of Patricia saw this news coverage and instantly recognized Noel. The family member informed Patricia of the current status of Noel. Now, what prompted initial concerns of the whereabouts of Noel did not come from Noel's mom, nor stepdad. A welfare check was requested on March 20th, 2023, to authorities by the Children Protective Services, who received a tip from a family member of Noel's. This family member reported concerns over not having seen Noel in several months. Authorities followed up on this report and went to pay a visit to Cindy, who claimed that Noel was now residing with his biological father in Mexico. It wouldn't be until 3 days later, on March 23, 2023, that CPS were able to make contact with Noel's biological father, Mariano, who verified that he has never seen the boy due to him being deported back to Mexico prior to Noel's birth. This was also verified by Homeland Security that Mariano was in Mexico and never met the boy. This left authorities to investigate furthermore by questioning family members about Noel's whereabouts. Authorities made contact with Cindy's brother, Noel's uncle, who informs authorities that Cindy herself told their mother that she actually sold Noel at a fiesta market to a woman. During this interview, Cindy's brother also revealed that he has witnessed Cindy preventing Noel from drinking water and food because she didn't want to change his diapers. Cindy's brother confronted her about this, as he also witnessed Cindy using her keys to hit Noel after he drank water. So it's very clear that physical abuse and Noel's health and well-being was being neglected. Authorities make their way back to the property where Cindy and her family resided. A little backstory to how Cindy came to reside at this location. During an interview with Fox 4, the property owner Charles Parson tells reporters he met Cindy at a local grocery store and the two struck up a conversation. Charles was going through a tough time from a relationship that ended, and Cindy offered to help Charles out by cooking for him. Cindy eventually asked Charles if she could sleep in her parked car out on his driveway, as she had no housing. At that time, Cindy and Noel's biological dad, Mariano, had been separated due to Mariano deportation, which left Cindy without a home.
I met her at a grocery store one night. I was thumping some melons, and she come up and so we got to be talking, and then I told her, we got to find out that I'd gone through a pretty bad relationship with somebody for like 11 years. She was a dopehead, and she took me for everything. So she had volunteered that if I needed somebody to come over and cook every now and then, she would. So we did that. So one day she came out and parked her car in front of my house, and it was cold, and she asked me, could she sleep right there in front of the house? I said, what do you mean? Her husband or whatever, the guy that got deported to Mexico, had left her with no rent money, no food, no nothing, no diapers. And so I told her, look, I got 2 extra rooms. Y'all are willing to come in if y'all want to come in and stay there. I said, I'm not going to charge you rent. So then later on, she ended up meeting her husband to be at one of them little stores down the street, and they ended up getting married.
It seems like Charles really was being a good human being, and he recognized that Cindy needed some help. He offered Cindy a place to stay and did not ask her for any rent payments. Charles had a shed behind his house for Cindy, and Cindy accepted the offer. While residing at Charles's residence, she meets her now husband, Arshdeep Singh. Based on Charles's interview with reporters, it seems like Charles and Cindy had a great relationship, and he was simply just helping her out, as Charles himself didn't have any family members. Cindy's kids even referred to Charles as Grandpa Charles. He also shares that he has never witnessed Cindy being abusive towards Noel or any of the kids in Cindy's care. Moreover, when Charles was questioned by authorities on the whereabouts of Noel, he shared that he hadn't seen Noel since Thanksgiving of 2022 and that Cindy told him that Noel was now living with his biological father in Mexico, which was verified to not be true. So clearly, Cindy was giving different stories of the whereabouts of Noel. By March 25th, 2023, an Amber Alert was placed for missing Noel Rodriguez Alvarez. This Amber Alert informs the public to be on the lookout for 37-year-old Cindy, who authorities were unable to make contact with, and that police were looking for her. The public was asked to be on the lookout for a gray 2012 Chevrolet Silverado truck with Texas license plate and that it had a mural of Santa Muerte at the back windshield. A day later, the Amber Alert was canceled as authorities located the truck parked in a garage at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. Upon locating the truck, authorities learned that Cindy and Arshdeep fled the country with all 6 of their children except for Noel. Noel was not listed as a passenger on the flight. The family took a flight to Turkey, and authorities believe from Turkey they traveled to India, where Arshdeep is from. On March 30th, a felony warrant was issued for both Cindy and Arshdeep for abandonment and endangering a child, which in the state of Texas is a second-degree felony. Regardless of Cindy and Arshdeep fleeing, authorities continued their investigation in searching for 6-year-old Noel. The last confirmed sighting that authorities were able to establish was Noel being present in October 2022 at the birth of his twin sisters at the hospital. Based on observations made at the hospital, Noel was described being malnourished and looked very unhealthy. Authorities conducted extensive searches on Charles's residence and Cindy's shed. Upon their investigation, authorities noticed a concrete slab that was recently made there and paid by Cindy herself. The reasoning for Cindy paying for work to be done on this residence was because Charles himself decided and told Cindy that she would inherit his residence as he had no family members to give it to, and he did not want to leave it for the city. This would explain why Cindy paid for construction work to be done on the residence, even though it was not under her name yet.
And now people are saying she was abusive. I've never seen her abuse Noel or any of the kids.
And you're the homeowner?
I'm the homeowner. I've been here 10 years. I worked most of the time when she was here.
Did she get permission from you to pour that slab, or how did that?
She's going to inherit. She was going to inherit the house, so she didn't need my permission. Because I have nobody to leave the house to. Nobody at all. I don't want to leave it to the city. So, you know, she could basically was doing it for her own benefit.
So it's very clear that Charles was really helping Cindy and her family out by providing a roof over their heads and even giving away his home to her, as he is an older gentleman and had no one else in mind to give it to. Charles was very cooperative throughout the investigation and allowed authorities to conduct an in-depth search of his property. Authorities drilled underneath the concrete slab but found no remains of Noel or any evidence that indicates foul play in this area. They even used cadaver dogs to search the property, and again, no remains were found. The cadaver dogs did alert authorities to a spot in the yard on the topsoil, but no physical evidence was found. The cadaver dogs also alerted authorities to a nearby dumpster that had a carpet that was disposed of by Arshdeep the day before the family boarded the plane. Regardless of the lack of physical evidence, based on the cadaver dog's hits, authorities do believe that at some point within the last several months, there were human remains that could have been kept on the property, and the carpet itself had human remains on it at some point. Not only did investigators search the property, but searches were conducted in nearby wooded areas, creeks, ponds, and construction sites. Aside from cadaver dogs, authorities used drones and infrared cameras, but there were still no signs of Noel. Upon further investigation, authorities ruled out the claims of Noel being sold at a fiesta market and Noel being in Mexico with his father. Authorities announced on April 6th that the investigation of missing Noel was now considered a death investigation. More information was released from a press conference that included Noel being last seen by a speech professional on July 21st, 2022, and then soon after began missing important appointments. This was an issue as Cindy was receiving government benefits and received a warning letter from the state informing her due to the missed appointments, she could potentially lose her benefits. This warning prompted Cindy to ask another mother if she could borrow her child to pose as Noel, as Cindy claimed Noel was unable to make the upcoming appointment due to having COVID and did not want to lose the government benefits. A witness did come forward and inform the police of statements that Cindy made in regards to Noel being evil, possessed, and having a demon inside him. Cindy feared that due to Noel's disabilities and illnesses, she feared that 6-year-old Noel would cause harm to her newborn twin girls. Cindy was a part of a religion of a Santa Muerte and worshipped Santa Muerte, which would explain why she had the mural at the back of her windshield. When investigators searched the housing shed, they found out that Cindy also had a shrine of Santa Muerte inside the home.
There's one in particular that stands out to police. Cindy sings devotion, and I'm quoting here, to a saint of death. Talk to us about that and how that's relevant to the case.
Yes, Santa Muerte, and the chief said that this is something, they saw a shrine in the house to Santa Muerte. It's right when they went in. It's the saint of death, often depicted, as you can see some pictures, a skeleton in a gown. He said that there were pictures and there were statues. There was a mural on the truck. It's often associated with Mexican organized crime activity, with the cartel, with trafficking. In this case, police said it really gave them some insight as to the mindset of Cindy Singh, who they were dealing with, Nicole, as they were trying to figure out what happened here and where that little boy disappeared to.
Based on Cindy and Arshdeep fleeing the country amidst Noel missing, it clearly sounds off alarms that they may have had involvement in Noel's case. Or else why would she leave behind her child, make claims that were proven untrue as to where Noel was, and not want to assist in the search or even report her son missing for months? Authorities believe that Cindy made claims of Noel being in Mexico with his father and being sold to a woman at the Fiesta Market were stories she created to mislead and buy the family more time to be able to leave the country. Back in November, on November 1st, 2022, authorities discovered that Cindy had passport photos done for all 6 of her children except for Noel. By November 2nd, Cindy applied for passports for her family and again, not for Noel. Authorities confirmed that on November 6, 2022, Cindy and Arshdeep had researched for the prices for taking a trip to India. So it really seems that this trip to India was pre-planned and Noel was not expected to join the family on this trip. Cindy also inquired at her children's school to unenroll the children, and it's also noted that Noel was never enrolled in school. Another alarming incident that authorities found out was on March 22nd, 2023, Archdeep stole $10,000 from his job and deposited $8,000 into his bank account. Archdeep was able to have access to this amount of money as it was part of his job role to oversee cash for this company. Authorities were able to verify this through surveillance videos of Archdeep depositing the money into his bank account. A few hours later, Cindy and Archdeep are seen on surveillance videos at the airport with their 6 children boarding a plane without Noel and making their way to Turkey and then to India. Though Cindy and Archdeep fled the country, authorities are hopeful that they can extradite both Cindy and Archdeep, but this will take some time. Archdeep has a warrant out for felony theft after he stole money from a safe from his job. On October 30th, 2023, police announced that Cindy Rodriguez Singh was indicted by a grand jury on charges of capital murder, 2 counts of injury to a child, and 1 count of abandoning without the intent to return. This case is just so heartbreaking. There are so many unanswered questions as to what happened to Noel, where he is, and what led up to this incident. Foster mom Patricia is left heartbroken and refutes the claims made by Cindy that Noel was this evil child. Patricia only has wonderful memories of sweet little Noel, and even told Cindy that she was always open to taking back Noel if she felt she was unable to care for him. The more time has gone on, Patricia has slowly accepted that Noel may be gone, and she will forever cherish the yellow dump truck that brought Noel so much joy. She shares, quote, "I realized after the fact that the little yellow dump truck, he forgot it. It's very special to know that this truck brought him so much joy to play with. You know, to know that even the Spider-Man toys brought him joy. Even his Paw Patrol cup that I bought him to drink at home." Quote. Patricia and her family remain hopeful that authorities will find Noel so he could be laid to rest and justice to be served for sweet little 6-year-old Noel. I don't understand how a mother could do such a crime to an innocent child, and the way this story is unfolding is just extremely sad and so hard to understand. I understand that investigation takes time, but it just sucks that it took a while for an Amber Alert to be placed out, and it allowed Cindy and her husband Archdeep enough time to obtain financial gains for their travels, pack some belongings, and make their way to India with 6 of their children. Noel's life and upbringing just isn't fair. It's heartbreaking to hear that Cindy did have options and did have support from others who'd offered to help her with Noel, but she simply did not care enough, as Noel was witnessed being malnourished and prevented access to food and water. I truly hope Noel receives the justice he deserves and will be found for foster mom Patricia and the community to have closure. If you do have any information on the whereabouts of Noel or any information as to what happened, please come forward and contact Everman Law Enforcement at 817-293-2923. I'd love to hear your feedback and questions that you still may have. Comment if there is any possible information that I may have missed, as I did my very best to conduct a deep research. A kind reminder to please be mindful of negative comments, as these are real people's lives. All I want to do is bring light to cases that are not always talked about and advocate for victims and their families. Until the next case, please stay safe, look out for one another, and always spread kindness.